creatures, like odd creatures,
Fairly odd creatures?
with wands
And wings?
and floaty crowny things.
So, just as I am today, the Fairly Oddparents is back with a new series, a revival with a cute new art style that blends 2D and 3D animation. I have always loved the Fairly Oddparents since I was little, but a while ago I re-watched a lot of it and realised there's a lot more bad stuff than good stuff. It starts off fine, gets peak around season 3 to 5, then around season 6 and 7 it starts to plummet, and then it just dips really hard. I mean, that is kinda just the lifespan of most shows. I think it's even worse for modern shows. But Fairly Oddparents just kept falling and falling, but because the franchise prints money, they always have to bring it back. They just really went too far. It should have ended long ago. It was back before Fairly Odder that I did my rewatch, but I don't remember many specifics outside a few key episodes like Channel Chasers and Timmy's Secret Wish. And even then, I probably only remember them because they're long-form specials that, usually have some relevancy or give us a look into the future. There are also the high highs and the low lows of the series, like with Channel Chasers being considered the best thing the series ever did. But then, Timmy's Secret Wish probably isn't the worst thing it ever did, but, really bad. Do also remember some of the best and worst regular episodes, but they don't really feel worth mentioning because, they're not important. Anyway, I did end up checking out Fairly Odder, and I really regretted it. The theme song wasn't terrible, definitely beats the season 10 theme, but it just feels really hollow. It's lacking any real anything. Especially when they get to the wishes, they've got stuff like they want a new shirt or a new skirt. These kids are geniuses. What was Timmy wasting his fairies on? I guess one way I can put the Fairly Odder theme is uncanny. It felt too hard like they were trying to be the original theme, but with such, I want to say, creative wishes? It completely ruins any immersion to the fact these children even have fairy godparents when most of their wishes in the theme song could probably be covered by if they were rich and had a credit card. Even then, I don't think a new shirt and new skirt really require being rich. Weird rant about a theme song over. Let's actually talk about something.
I feel itchy. We're back, baby.
So, a new wish. It's surprisingly peak. This revival follows Hazel Wells, a new child who just moved to the city. And it just so happens that her new neighbours are Cosmo and Wanda, who have been heavily toned down. Wanda feels more like she did in the early stages of the OG series, and Cosmo kind of feels like a blend of the early OG stuff and a bit of the later stuff. I can't really place my finger on it because he did have a similar time in the OG series, but at that time he also had other traits like only dedicated to being a moron or having a broken marriage. Or, being Wanda's other half, but that was more of the early stuff. One complaint I've seen a lot of is that Wanda has been dumbed down. But she hasn't really. In the early seasons of the original show, Cosmo and Wanda were portrayed as two halves of a whole idiot, which, if I remember correctly, that's even the words the show uses to describe them. It is pretty annoying when people won't watch a show but complain about stuff they don't even know. Like, I've seen Nick posting clips of the intro and just clips from the show in general, and people have had some very unique complaints. Like, oh my god, what did they do to Timmy? And Timmy wished he could. I probably shouldn't finish that statement if I want to stay here. The annoying thing is, these clips use Hazel's name and say her and she, yet people are complaining that they've done something to Timmy. Like, in fairness, I guess Timmy's gone and people might be upset about that part, but some people are acting like Hazel is Timmy and are getting stuck up on stupid things like her skin colour, and it's just really not relevant. And, you've got all the stupid people just saying the show's woke and that's why it's bad, and that can get a show positive attention because people will at least recognise the people complaining that it's woke are probably wrong. Although that backfired on me because some of the first reviews I saw for Velma were complaining that the show was woke, So I was like, oh yeah, maybe it's not that bad. And you probably all know how that turned out. Because, the show did have problems. It just wasn't that it was woke like every man baby was trying to claim. But yeah, hopefully the woke complaints do end up getting this show some positive attention, because it deserves it. It doesn't deserve just to be thrown under the bus because Hazel is not white. The obvious solution would have been giving Hazel an original fairy, but then, there'd be no brand recognition and, the show probably wouldn't have taken off as well. Because, people will complain that the series is going to use these legacy characters, but what they don't realise is, without the legacy characters, there's really nothing keeping the show afloat but the name. And if it's just the name in theory without any of the OG cast or anything, people just aren't going to tune in because of how different it is. You can't really win in these revival situations, because if they just do a one-for-one reboot, people are going to complain. If they change a couple things, people are going to complain. If they change everything, people are going to complain. So they can just do what they want. Anyway, yeah, hopefully these complaints are a blessing and get this show a watch, because it is good.
Witnessing this guy get sworn into the presidency? Ah, those were the days. Just take me back, Wanda. Take me back!
So, the new character Hazel, as I said earlier, she's moved to the city feeling all alone. Which I feel like it's been played to death that it's not really a good reason to get fairy godparents. And that other people have pointed out her other problems, but I may as well give a quick rundown, just for the sake of making the video feel complete. So yeah, Hazel's feeling alone. The person she considers her best friend, her brother, didn't move to the city with her, because instead he's gone off to college, and even though he was supposed to visit, his flight was cancelled. And he wasn't able to come up on a later date or anything because it would be too late. So now Hazel goes to school and she ends up eating alone because everyone is weird. And then this kid named Dev makes fun of her for sitting in wet paint. He's the grandson of Doug Dimmadome from the original series. Her parents do seem to try and be good, but they don't really recognise Hazel's emotions because they're too busy with their jobs. Which is a bit funny because her mother writes therapy books or self-help books or whatever they are. She's diagnosing things and giving a scale of how well she thinks Hazel is going, and it's just if you actually paid attention to your kid, maybe you'd see she wasn't doing too well. Anyway, now she decides she wants to run away and runs into Cosmo and Wanda for the second time. Cosmo is a little too dumb here because she tells them she's going to space camp so she doesn't need her parent, and the lie kind of gets a bit muddled up and Cosmo believes everything. Wanda, being the skeptic, wants to quickly take Hazel upstairs and double check with her parents that that's what's really going on, because, someone has to be responsible. But by the time they look over, she is already out the door. After a bit of chase, Hazel wishes she could fly to her brother herself, and apparently her wish is so strong that it brings Cosmo and Wanda out of retirement. I don't understand whether they just couldn't help themselves when they heard her wish, or if the wish was actually so strong that it forced them to grant it. Earlier scenes did imply they wanted to help her with a rendition of the theme song playing.
Cosmo, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
So I feel like they were at least planning on becoming her fairy godparents. I just want a little bit of elaboration on how the wish worked. Anyway, Hazel gets transformed into a fly, another chase scene, yada yada, wish goes wrong, and now she is back to normal. Anyway, yeah, Cosmo and Wanda want her as her next project, and the next episode immediately follows up on the fallout from this, because Jorgen finds out and comes to, kill them all. Turns out Hazel was already meant to be getting a fairy, and in fact it's the best fairy in all of Fairy World. Now, I was willing to suspend my disbelief for Cosmo and Wanda just choosing her, but her actually being given a fairy godparent seems a little iffy, and even then, apparently she's getting the best one. Like a miserable kid, like Timmy just got two idiots, which I guess worked out for him because they actually loved him. But then this girl who is just a bit sad, that we know of, gets the best fairy. They could always reveal she's really miserable but, so far doesn't seem like it. Anyway, Cosmo, Wanda and Hazel fail some trials. Hazel ends up with the best fairy because she failed. Turns out this fairy just grants what she thinks kids want, like cookies and Ferraris, and the new makeup kits or whatever. This stuff could seem a bit relatable to kids. One of my later problems is that some of the stuff, I don't know if it's really relatable, more so just stuff kids want, which does kind of feel like a metaphor for the whole series if I think about it now. Anyway, to get everyone's attention, she makes a wish that's so confusing that it causes a giant wish fart. Jorgen shows up, and Hazel wishes that she could have Cosmo and Wanda back, and it works, because something from earlier in the episode is a fairy god kid should always get what they want, which is weird, because the whole time she was saying she wanted Cosmo and Wanda, Jorgen just didn't listen, so it's weird, but the episode does end up tying itself together in the end, so I guess it works out. And surely there's some limit on this a kid gets whatever they want thing, because couldn't a kid just wish that they want every fairy in Fairy World and leave every other kid without a fairy? I understand the premise of this rule, but there has to be some limits.
I'm Cosmo! And I'm Wanda! And we're your fairy godparents! Again!
The other new characters are rather interesting. The principal kinda just feels like an evil version of the principal from the original series. There's some ASMR kid, which, yikes. The kid I mentioned before who bullies Hazel, Dev, he has drones, and he acts as Hazel's rival. Which, speaking of, I'm not a kid in today's world, so I don't know what they're watching or doing, but none of this feels relatable. I know it's kids' stuff watch on YouTube, so it's probably something that'll get their attention, but I feel like it removes some sincerity from the sidecast because it feels like they're just showing kids what they want to see instead of showing them something that they could relate to. The original series had relatable archetypes. They were exaggerated, but they were relatable. Like you had Chester and AJ, the poor friend and the smart friend. They're kind of exaggerated, like AJ is a scientist, but it's a kid Timmy wants to cheat off all the time. It's relatable because your smart friend is doing better than you, so theoretically, you could just copy off him. Maybe the revival characters do need some time to mellow out and actually do some stuff. Maybe they'll feel like real characters eventually. Hazel's best friends are definitely the best side characters so far, at least in terms of being enjoyable to watch. They haven't really done anything iconic or memorable yet. Jasmine is kinda quirky and Win is just cool. That's all I can really say about them other than that they seem to be good kids. Also, Win's the coolest kid in school apparently. Kinda crazy that Hazel managed to immediately befriend the coolest kid in school, but somehow nobody knows her that well and she's not popular. Like, there was the episode she wished herself to be famous, but being friends with the coolest kid in school, you'd think that'd at least get you some cred. Like, surely people would look at her and think, oh, she's best friends with the coolest kid in school. By extension, that should make her kinda cool. I did hear this series is meant to be more continuity based than the original. So far, other than some school moments carrying over into the next episode, the only real continuity things that have been played around with were in the first 2 episodes. I've heard there was a Bible leak and a lot more does happen, but I didn't look at the leaks when they first came out, and now I can't find them. So I'm in kind of a conundrum. Either way, I'm really enjoying myself with the series so far. It's had a couple bumps along the way, but overall, I'd say it's a win. I do kinda wish it was either a special or a series with longer/less episodes, because while I am enjoying it, I do see Hazel as someone who's already pretty happy and that her problems probably could have been solved in a couple episodes. And the fairies already helped her make friends and stuff, and she could apply what she's learnt to make more friends. She doesn't need the fairies to make all her friends for her. Like, she's realised, maybe I just need to suck it up and reach out in order to make friends. Yet after that, she still uses wishes like for her house to be a fancy hotel or to be famous to try and make friends. Which I do understand the wishes in theory, but she already did a wish where all the teachers were her friends and she realized, oh, maybe I need to be able to make friends on my own. But then she backtracks on it, which I get a learnt lesson isn't immediately going to fix someone's flaws, but backtracking on these characters is what ruined the original series. So while it's not terrible that they're doing this, I feel like it could just be a bad sign for Hazel's character going forward, if they've done this a few times already. Like, yeah, not a problem. Could be a problem if she continues on this path. So far, just makes her a little stagnant. It's a character flaw, they could work with it, but I'm worried. Anyway, now it's your guys' turn. I'd like to know what you all think of this series, because I have seen a few mixed reactions, although the mixed ones were for bad reasons. And I feel like I should stop disappearing, because it definitely had a negative impact on my channel. That or my last video was a topic that people really didn't want to see. So hopefully maybe the second one? Either way, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go. Maybe consider liking and subscribing. That might help push me out there a little. And with that, I am out of here.